Let me just get all my paperwork up here. Okay, so welcome everybody. Today I have a very exciting guest, my friend and client, Tammy Metz, and I want to give you a little background on her. So she received her bachelor degree in biology, a minor in psychology, and certificate in management studies from University of Rochester in 1990, and graduated from Columbia University with a Master's of Science degree in physical therapy in 1992. And she's really honed her physical therapy skills working with a variety of patients, including neurologically impaired and patients in a coma state. So welcome, Tammy. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you, Jackie. Thank you for having me and for this opportunity. I think what really sparked this was, I've been working with you for, I don't even know, over 5 years. I feel like, you lose track of time. In the evolution of what's happened over the course of that time. But I guess by hearing, my background, really the direction of my life has always been in an interest in healing and helping the body and working with people. So I worked in one of the top hospitals in New York City for 20 years. And really just also had an interest in healing for myself, right? I find that sometimes practitioners do what it is that they also need. So I was certainly one of those that was on a search, had a lot of tools in my toolbox. I learned cranial sacral, took osteopathic medicine courses, looked into homeopathy and in herbal medicine and tinctures. And, even though here I was working in the Western medicine field, but I had such an interest in that alternative world and what that was about as well. And so how to have those two worlds blend and work, and what my work was within that, to bring that awareness. I think I went to you because I was having chronic pain. I had pain for 30 years and was looking for a way to feel better, and always interested in the nervous system, and knew that addressing the fight or flight response of the body and getting into a parasympathetic rest and recovery mode was really important. And so instantly clicked when I worked with you with the Bowen technique, as far as helping the body and helping the physical, right? Yeah. And then at some point on that journey of physical, you also realize that there's an emotional component.
Always, right? People don't want to hear it. They're like, just go with the physical. But in order to let that physical problem go, we have to look at the energy. We have to look at the emotion under the skin, right? Under that. And I'd love it if you can share. I forgot how much similarities. So we both worked in hospitals. I was in X-ray. And yet, even though we worked in the Western physical hospital, we have such a devotion to what's natural, to natural healing and bringing all of that in. So in your journey over the last few years, you were confronted with a big challenge. Do you want to talk about that?
I was. So 2 years ago, like I said, I was struggling with chronic pain, knew that I had to address the emotional piece. So we started to get into some tapping and working with that. And when you start to break down those barriers, I think the body starts to go through an expression, or gets out of that protective mode and says, okay, now I can express. And so for me, that was my experience. I was letting go of all this protection. I was finally giving my body and my brain and my emotional state support enough that it felt safe enough that it said, okay, this is what needs to come to the surface. And what surfaced was cancer. So 2 years ago in January, 2 years ago, I was diagnosed with cancer. And
I forgot
I
that's really not that long ago.
no, and it was actually right before the pandemic started. So it was also a very interesting time to be going through that experience because while everyone was quarantining and hibernating because of COVID, I could just be in this cocoon around my cancer experience, which I really needed to do. But I didn't have to talk to anybody. I didn't have to tell anybody. I could really just be in my experience and what that was for me. Yeah. So,
What was that
I,
like for you hearing those words?
so it's interesting because when you hear the word cancer, there's me, and I don't, I don't know. For me, what happened was, there's this fear that gets triggered, this almost questioning, not do I want to, it's like, how am I going to navigate this? What am I going to do? And I would say that the biggest piece that came up was fear. And it doesn't matter what the research is, it doesn't matter the statistics, it doesn't matter what stage. It's a process that you have to integrate with, and the possibility of dying. I mean, we as humans never know, right? There's fear and unknown at every moment. But when you get a diagnosis of cancer, it's really right up in your face. And there's no way to skirt around it. Every day people have their lives change in an instant. And that's what happens with a cancer diagnosis as well. Like, you're instantly faced with, okay, how are you gonna go through this? I am married, so I had the support of my husband. And it's interesting because we never really talk about what the experience is for them either. I know that he had to go through his own experience of fear and loss, and I don't want to lose you and I don't want you to die, but he never said those words during the process. He has said it lately, that was his fear. But yeah, and then I just totally embraced, as much as I was in the health world and knew that changing my diet and all of that was a piece, I also just totally embraced what Western medicine had to offer. I don't know if you want me to talk about that.
I think, well, it's a personal choice, right? And even though I love everything natural healing, right? Like that's always my go-to. There are certain times when we are so blessed and lucky to have that, right? They've done all the research and all the study, so they know exactly if there's ever a good time to have cancer or have a situation where you need Western medicine, it's now, let's face it, right?
Yes.
So I believe that we can blend Western and Eastern medicine for the best healing and for what's right for each individual person, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And it's not one or the other. I don't think I think they complement each other. I think they support each other. For those of you who are actively in the cancer experience, I think Dr. Kelly Turner does a documentary and has a book called Radical Remissions, where she talks about the impact of, in particular, diet to helping to reverse or change the course of the cancer's progression. So, and then T. Colin Campbell out of Cornell did a huge study called the China study on the impact of diet and cancer diagnoses. So we've known, and that was published, I think, in the 70s. So we've known for a long time that food can have an impact, and our diet and our mindset on the progression of cancer. So that was absolutely a part of my healing and
So that's
process.
the part that you really expanded into. And I love how people, when they go through cancer or any challenging health condition, like they take on one aspect, right? Somebody might take on the aspect of mindset. Somebody else might take the energy of energy. You took on the knowledge of food and how it impacts our health. And you went one step further. Do you want to share what your
Oh,
big goal is this year and what you're
sure.
doing?
So in the process of looking at how diet impacts how we feel and can really reverse illness, I did two things. One, I took a course with the Center of Nutrition Studies at Cornell. They have a nutrition certificate, so that I really learned more about nutrition and the research behind it. And it's not just, and there's a lot of different diet theories. I'm not talking about that. I'm really just talking about whole foods, plant-based, what this planet provides, and no matter what diet you're doing, they all pretty much agree that not eating processed foods and limiting your sugar is going to be beneficial. There's not going to be any quandary about that, right? So one of the ways that I realized I could help people and reach more people than just individually working with them in physical therapy is to open up a organic vegan eatery. So I'm going to be doing that later this year.
That's awesome. That's, I live up here in the Northwest corner and there's just not enough restaurants that have really healthy food. So I want to congratulate you for taking on that journey and that adventure, because we
Thank
do,
you.
it's hard sometimes. Well, one, it's hard to change your diet. I have had so many issues with that. And only now can I say that, ooh, I'm really understanding how sensitive food is for me, and how
Mhm.
eating healthy definitely keeps my energy up, keeps my focus on track. But it's hard to change your
Mhm.
food and what you're used to cooking and eating. It's like, sometimes it's just like, please don't put that on me. Don't put one more thing on me to
Yep.
change. You have to do it when you're ready. So what was
Yes.
that journey like for you?
So for me, I really think the impetus was not feeling well. And I'm like, I can't keep living like this. Like, I need to do something. And so um, finding what worked for me. And it was really about juices and bringing in more fruits and vegetables. And, I think it's funny that when you compare like fruits and vegetables and herbs and things that are medicinal in the plant world to the Western medicine world, people may say, oh, well, that didn't work. And it's like, okay, but did you really do it in the amount or the dosing that was required, right? Because in the medicine world, you can take a little pill and it might be 80 grams or 250 grams or whatever it is, or milligrams. So how much plant do you need to eat? And you need to eat pounds and pounds. And so juicing is definitely one way. And in Kelly Turner's book, she talks about how juicing is definitely one of the ways that you can get a higher volume of the nutrients that you need to counter what it is that your body's working with. And so I think the turning point for me was that when I started to juice, I just started to feel better. And I was like, I know that this is what's going to help me through this.
And
And
so
there
when
were,
it comes to juicing, do you need specific, you evidently need a juicer, right? I have a Vitamix, but that's not a good juicer.
it's not, although people do, you can blend and then like squeeze it through a nut milk bag, because it's really about straining out the pulp, right? So people definitely do hacks if they can't afford a juicer or don't have a juicer and just want to start. Simply, you can put the fruits or the vegetables into your blender, start at a low speed until you get some liquid. And then once you have liquid, you can go higher and higher speeds. And I do that like in a hotel room. I will take my NutriBullet or something like that where I can just squeeze out, some juice. And even if I just get 4 ounces or 8 ounces, I'll do that when I'm traveling to just maintain it. But you brought up a really good point as far as being ready to change, or how hard it is to change how we eat. And I think there's a couple of factors for that. Certainly cancer is an impetus for that. You're faced with this and you're like, okay, you can't expect to recover from that if you don't do something radically different than what got you into that state in the first place, right? So recognizing that a small change probably isn't going to be sufficient, that it really does require a radical change. And cancer can do that. It can be like, you know what, I'm willing to do anything. Okay, bring it on, so I'm
And I
very
think,
grateful for that.
yeah, and there has to be a level of, I'm doing this for me, right? Because whether you live with people, it's different if you live with people or if you live alone, right? I live with my husband and my son. So if I went to that, that's just me doing that, but I still have to cook for them the same old way,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So there's
And
a
I do
level
that.
of, I'm doing this for me because I matter and this is important to me.
Yeah. And I think that's huge, Jackie. I mean, you've always supported the emotional energy behind what was driving what was going on, right? And really, you've always wanted to go deeper, right? Go deeper. Let's go deeper. Where is this coming from? Where is this coming from? Whether it was looking at me personally, my ancestors, and it's like, there is so much information right now about mindset and epigenetics and changing our genetics. And I think that at some level, it's just knowing that it's even possible. Like sometimes we limit ourselves with the way that we think, that we don't even know that something is possible to change. And so it's really, and I will say that one of the constant in my physical therapy work is that I always trusted body. I always knew that body had the capacity. But what befuddled me was, if the body has the capacity to heal, then why isn't it doing it? I asked myself that question when I was like 22 years old, when I graduated physical therapy school. It's like, what the heck am I doing with my hands? Like, really? Like, okay, we know that the body can heal itself. So then why isn't it doing it?
Why aren't more people healing? Why aren't these
Yeah.
modalities doing what they're supposed to be doing, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
we forget that the soul and the mind is so powerful in the beliefs and the thoughts. So
Yeah.
in your journey, you had to shift that to get
I
to the other
did.
side.
I did. And, I think there's always a moment, I call it, being in the ashes, and where you have to rise up from the ashes. And anyone who's been through a cancer treatment experience, because I had surgery with lymph nodes removed, I had chemo, I had radiation, you get to a point where you're like, this is as low as I can go, and so and then you find the strength to rise up out of it. And
And that's when
so
healing occurs, true deep healing, right? Because it has to come
yeah,
from within you.
yeah,
It has to come. And that's sometimes the journey, is to realize that you have everything you need to heal inside of you.
hmm,
We've been taught, and the society teaches us, we need doctors, we need something outside of ourselves. And absolutely, sometimes we do, right?
hmm,
Talking about the big C word. So sometimes we do need that. Um, and can we use our own personal power and energy to support it and help it and tune in to our own inner guidance and say, what does my body need today? What does
yeah,
my body need for nourishment, for food, to feel good, to have all the energy I need every single day to do what I desire, right? And
yeah,
that's a totally different mindset and a way of living.
absolutely, absolutely. I mean, you said it well, so I'm not going to repeat it. But it is recognizing that it's what you want, and sometimes you need everything to be stripped away to even know what that is. And I think that's sometimes what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So could you share a little bit? You did well on your healing journey. And you did have some side effects
I
from those
do.
treatments.
Yeah,
And
and
you
I
still do?
continue to, and I
Yeah.
continue to, and um, it's I forgot what I was going to say. Side effect, no, but um, you know the healing. Oh, I think it's when you were talking about the healing of ourselves, right? There is also a piece that needs to heal from the medical treatments that occurred, and so I'm
Yeah.
continually and consistently. So because I had the lymph nodes removed, I do struggle with some fluid, and so again, your work with the lymph massage treatment, which is a very specific way of working with the lymphatic system. And for those of you that don't understand, the lymphatic system is basically the system of your immune system, but it's a fluid-based system, and the lymphatic vessels, some of them run parallel to the arteries and the veins, right? So we have this whole fluid delivery system of blood and lymphatic fluid, and so there's congestion there, and the immune system is continuing to work, and so and maybe overburdened or having to filter out
Yes. Yeah.
certain toxicity from the treatments themselves.
Yeah.
Again, hugely grateful for the treatments that I received, and the ability for them to do what they do. And I absolutely used nature when I was going through treatments. I would go on days of my chemo and sit with a maple tree and let the chemo, run through out of me and into the roots of the tree and take it down to the core of Mother Earth. And, did a lot of visualization, and really just to the best of my ability to absorb the best of what the treatments had to offer. But we're physical creatures. And so I still feel some of the effects of that.
Mm. Yeah. And that's what we were working on, was because I know some of my clients who have had cancer, they have neuropathy, or they have numbness in certain
Mhm.
parts of their body. And we
And they
were,
don't tell you about the numbness.
I know.
They're just so grateful that you are cancer free, that, oh yeah, you might have numbness for the rest of your life, but and I'm like, that's not okay with me. I am gonna, no, that's not, we are not
Yes.
static permanent creatures. Like, that can change, that can evolve. There's the possibility it doesn't have to be that way for the rest of my life. I am not accepting that.
And you bring up a very good point, because my other friend who has gone through cancer, she also ended up with some neuropathy, and she had to speak up. You know, when you go through, I'm just talking about her experience, because this is, even though I've worked in the hospitals, I get it that when you're a patient in the hospital, all of a sudden you become a body part.
Mhm.
We kind of dehumanize the patients in our system. It sounds awful. And listening to her being the patient go through that, like, I got what she was saying, because as you're working in the hospital, sometimes it's just so busy. It's like, oh, there's an arm out there. So I worked in the x-ray department, right? So they would say there's a forearm out there to do, or there's a chest x-ray. It wasn't, there's a human being attached to that body part. You become the body part, right? And she really experienced that going through her cancer treatments. And it was like, I don't feel that there was enough communication between her and the people who were giving her the tests, because she was feeling numbness, but nobody really, she had to say it to a few people before they were like, oh, maybe we should change the dose of your chemo.
Right.
Maybe
Right.
we should change things for you specifically. We've gone too far and the damage had already been done. Right. So if, for those who are listening to this, really be your own advocate in saying, oh my God, I'm feeling this. Is this normal? Is there something you can change? Am I done with my chemo? Me specifically, I know you said 20, but maybe I don't need 20. Maybe something's already shifted in me because I'm doing my healing on this way and I'm doing this. And maybe I don't need all that. And it takes courage to speak up. And I really want to encourage, if you're out there, speak up to your doctors and whoever is taking care of you. If you feel inside that something's wrong, speak up.
Yeah, absolutely. And nobody knows your body better than you, even though you may feel like you don't have the education or the experience or the words or know how to communicate it. You know if something feels like too much. And I will tell you that at one point my chemo felt like it was too much. And I spoke up and my doctor said, okay, we're going to stop the chemo treatment. I'm comfortable with that. You know, you're looking good. And so there has to be that dialogue and that communication, and you have to be comfortable with it as well. And then you question it. I'm like, should I really have said something? Should I just tried to tough it out and do the whole thing? And, but you can't. You gotta follow your gut, know that you're strong, and then
that there's an inner wisdom. There's something, and I'm not saying this for everything. I'm not saying, you be your own doctor. When you're going through certain things, speak up if you feel that something's not right. And I think maybe that's another message that needs to come through today, that you have an inner doctor and ask that part of yourself so that you get the best treatment.
Yeah. And it is a dialogue, and it's been interesting for me. I'm a physical therapist. I know about lymphedema. When I first said it to my doctor, they're like, oh no, that doesn't really look that bad. And I'm like, this is not normal. My thighs being this swollen is not normal for me. I know that. And I would like treatment for it, and they don't necessarily have to agree with you, right? I think we learn that, or you don't need their permission. I went and saw you for lymph massage, and whether the doctor was going to say I needed lymph massage or not, because I knew I needed it.
Yeah, and they don't know all of these other healing modalities, and I haven't even been aware of what's possible. And I want to thank you because you do live far away. So when you do come in, I mean, we do have longer sessions, and I've been able to put a couple powerful modalities together where I never would have thought to do that, to do like liposage and then Bowen together. But you showed me that the results of that are powerful, right?
Yeah,
For some,
I would say that was one of my most powerful sessions with you ever, was when we combined those two together, because you get the benefits of the lymphatic motion and then you get the benefits from the Bowen sessions. So to anyone listening and out there, that is just that is like magic sauce right there.
it is, it's really awesome. And I want to honor you for that suggestion. And I don't call them mistakes. It's like a sign from God, right? To say, oh, check
Mhm.
this out and try something new. And then that just opens up the door, because so many people say, oh, I have neuropathy and the doctor says I can't do anything about it. How
Yeah.
many people out there have heard their doctor say, good luck with that. Can't do anything
Yeah.
about it. I know I've heard it a couple
Yeah.
times, and I had to insist. But I'm really letting you know that there are techniques and modalities put together in a certain way to help the side effects of chemo and radiation.
Absolutely, absolutely. So yes, it is not, you do not have to just quote live with it for the rest of your life. Keep searching, keep knowing, keep honoring that inner part, light and spark that says, I know there's more, I know there's another way, I know, and follow it. I would say that that was probably the biggest gift over the last couple of years, and it gets stronger, right? The last 3 months have been even stronger, of that spark of, um, I'm alive and this is how I want to live my life,
Yeah.
and to let go of the fear and to, but it's easier, it's quote easier said than done. And it's not just about letting go of fear. It's really about living through and facing and being willing to explore what that fear was protecting you from, right? And you always want to have support before you take away something. So, you can't expect that you're just going to be able to quote, let go of fear. It doesn't work that way. You need to be supported, and compassion, think self-compassion and compassion for this human experience is really important. And for what our bodies are trying to tell us and teach us. They are
Yeah.
great, great, great teachers.
Mhm.
In our head, we can always do things faster than what our bodies can do. And our bodies really show us what's doable in any given moment. That's it. It's
Yeah.
right there.
They show us our limitations, and then we have to decide what we're going to do with that limitation.
Yep. Yep. And how to
Yeah.
create change. Yeah.
Yeah. Tammy, I'm really excited. Thank you so much for this conversation, for being open to sharing your journey.
Thank you.
And really, so what would be your message to somebody out there who may be worried that she has cancer, or worried that she found out she has cancer? What would be your message to them?
What came to me is to recognize that it's an opportunity to learn and to grow and to change. That no matter what choices, no matter what process, no matter where that diagnosis leads you, it absolutely will change you. And to welcome it and embrace the change, because it's a
Beautiful.
beautiful journey.
It is. Healing is always an awesome journey.
Yeah.
And so give a little bit more information about how people can get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you, and about the timeline of your restaurant and the name of it.
Sure. So I guess the best way to reach me is by email, Tammy Metz PT@gmail.com. So Tammy, Tammy, Metz, METZ, P Papa Tango @gmail.com. That's my professional email. And the name of the restaurant is Zesto. It will open in Newtown, Connecticut. So I hope you will come down. Of course you will.
Yeah.
And I think we're hoping by summer is probably a good estimate. We're in demolition right now and have a lot of things that have to come into play, and depending on supply chain, all of that the universe. So the universe will tell me when it wants it to open, but look for it. And our hope is to really create a place where people feel safe, that they can trust the food that they're eating, the transparency. There is, like you said in the beginning, there are not a lot of great places to get good food. You know, I pretty much don't eat out very often and if I do, I know that I'm making that choice. But the food choices out there when you're eating out are not as good as what you can make at home, right? Because they're always doing quote shortcuts. So it will be organic, vegan, gluten-free, dedicated gluten-free, grain-free facility, all in-house made tortillas, flatbreads, pizza crust. We're going to have a vegan pizza in a pizza oven, salads, of course, smoothies, juices, all of that, but teas, herbal teas. So it should be a pretty exciting place, and a place where people can, it's not going to be sit down, it's going to be grab and go, but a place where people can feel that they can come in and that there's a sense of community and support for the healing process.
Love it. Well, we will look
Thank
forward to
you.
that, and you will keep us updated on all of that.
I will. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all for listening and joining.
Yes, and if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments and I'll make sure that Tammy gets the questions. Reach out to her and we will keep you updated on her restaurant. And I know we have one of our awesome ambassadors here. Do you have any questions, Joyce? What do you think of all this?
I think it's so interesting to hear this, and I'm talking to myself and saying, you know, get on that horse and do something about myself. And being the old school when you grew up and on a farm with potatoes, vegetables, and meat, vegetables, and meat. And when you reach my age, it's pretty hard to change that kind of a thing. But also, I will say that Tammy, that you're absolutely correct about Jackie, is that the Bowen treatments and the stuff that she does for you has made me a new person. So, you know, there's so much to learn, and that's why I'm on here. I wanted to hear something different. I wanted to know something different. So thank you for what you offered, and God bless you for all that you're going to do and with your new restaurant.
Thank you so much,
Maybe
Joyce.
a road trip, Joyce, when it opens up this summer.
There you go. I'm willing, you know, I'll try anything, anytime.
And I do want to, I don't know if I did, but Jackie, I do want to thank you both for having me and helping me to be open to sharing my experience. I'm a very private person, and you know, when we go through these experiences, they are very personal. So thank you for the opportunity and for being here and being so supportive.
Yeah, you're so welcome, Tammy. And you know, I may be a little selfish in this, but more people need to hear that cancer is not a death sentence.
Mm-hmm.
And so by interviewing people like you who have gone through the process and embrace that healing journey, it's about changing the mindset. right? It breaks my
Absolutely.
heart when I hear that somebody else passed away from any kind of cancer because they were told that there was nothing left to do.
Right.
And maybe, but I know they haven't tried these other modalities. And so the more we can talk about it and educate people, I'm all about educating people on really powerful techniques that help you heal at the core, and not just the superficial layer, right? I am all about going deep because I want to feel it inside of me. When you say you're happy, I want you to like explode from the inside out and say, yes, I'm happy. Yes, I conquered this. And it's amazing. And look how much I've changed my life for the better. And I want more people to know that. So thank you. Thank you for your honesty and all of this information.
Thank you.
Nice to have met you.
Nice to meet you too, Joyce. Can't wait to see you.
Yep.